Yeah.
Everyone wants to be happy. Yet we have different ways, perspectives, definitions, and how to get there. Your views.
Well, I love the word joy, by the way. Um, there are many types of happiness. Yeah, and you can create each one yourself. That's the beauty of happiness. It's your choice, it's your decision. You can see if it's pouring with rain outside, and I can still be happy, you know. So it's not necessarily to do with circumstance. Or you could let it be if you wanted it to. And people and things don't necessarily make you happy, I don't think. People think they do, but uh, you actually make yourself happy. You create and choose happiness as a result of whatever's going on in your life. So
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our episode of the Happiness Hour. I have with me someone who's like a second mother to me. I think I took her on as my mom more than she decided wanted me as a daughter. My mentor, my coach, my lifeline to where I am today, Lynne Marks. She is the founder and president of London Image Institute. She is globally one of the few certified image masters. Lynne is one of the most experienced image consultant trainers in the world. In 89, she decided to establish London Image Institute that has a global presence with a vision to develop bold, charismatic leaders who dare to make a difference. Lynne has worked with some of the top US corporates, executives, and politicians. She has co authored the book The Perfect Fit and Skinny Bits Wisdom on a Flourishing Business of Image of Wisdom for Flourishing Image Business, both bestsellers on Amazon. And that's not where her laurels rest. Lynne has featured in Time Magazine, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and CNN News and received many awards, as well as past president of Association Image Consultants International. She has contributed towards the excellence of that community in a big way. Thank you, Lynne, for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here and being in my life.
oh, I love being here. Thank you.
Uh, so I'd like to start with really at the basics of asking you, that often people, at least even I did at one point, think that image consultant is a person who works only on appearance. But what you did for me, and I've seen you do, is bring about a congruence between the inside and the outside to help the personality shine confidently. Can you throw a little light on that and what inspired you to get onto this journey?
Oh, well, I get first of all getting onto the journey. I was working for an image company when I first arrived in Atlanta, Georgia, married to a young man from Georgia. And then, of course, after that, I put on fashion shows, and somebody saw the fashion show and invited me to come and work with her. And she did not only appearance, but she also did body language and etiquette. So I could obviously see that image was far more than just color and style. And so from there, it became evident that when I went out on my own, I would need to expand the ABCs, we call them, the appearance, the behavior, the communication. Yes, I'd come from the fashion world and knew lots and lots about fashion, but what I needed was the image skills, the color analysis, all the details that one needs to be an image expert as opposed to a fashionista or a stylist. And then I had the body language, that was my postgraduate, and I had all sorts of skills in that direction, but therefore, I needed to see the communication. So for the next basically about 10 years, I was never out of a class. I'm an obsessive a graduate of many organizations, I assure you, and I just love learning. So I just liked expanding the ABCs, adding them to my portfolio, teaching others, and then of course, um, in gosh, it would have been about a little after I started my business. Um, I was invited to be a the topic or the subject, if you like, of a three-page feature article in Time magazine. So the Time magazine article was very rich with me and expounding about image. And that actually uh, started to bring people in. They were interested from after reading the article, all about image. Nobody knew what image was, and they still don't, by the way. And so I had to explain what image was. And then they said, well, will you teach me? Will you actually start to, have you got a training? So I created a training, and that's how it all started. So I was doing the corporations, I was working with individuals, and then I also had this division of working with train the trainer people. So, my life has sort of been a series of yes, okay, I'll do it. And that's sort of how the ABCs got started in my world.
And it's been obviously a journey you've never looked back on, in terms of you've just grown leaps and bounds from what takes gives you more joy, being the trainer or being the consultant?
Um, well, joy is a word that I love, and I find joy in everything. I find the joy in everything. So I happen to enjoy and find joy in training, because what I'm doing always is I'm giving myself away. And that's what I like to do. I like to give myself, I like to learn it and give it away. And that's how I find joy, along, of course, with pretty clothes and,
That,
all,
of
all
course.
the rest of it.
Uh, can you share some pivotal moments that defined your, journey as an image consultant, and how has it transformed you?
Um, well, I think, of course, the Time magazine was a big one. Um, the second one was becoming a VP education. Again, somebody clambered up to me in an AICI meeting and said, "You're that woman that trains people. Would you like to be on the board?" And I said, "What board?" And so she said, "AICI." So I said, "Oh, okay." And so and it was a sort of another yes, I'll do it, not knowing what on earth I was getting myself into. So I landed VP of Education because she thought that was appropriate. And a little before my term was finished, I was asked to be president. And I thought, how on earth am I going to do all this? But luckily, I had wonderful coaches. So all of that were pivotal moments in my life that I said yes. And then I had to quickly kind of fill in the blanks later and learn and learn and learn and learn. So you can see that's why I was in classes a lot. Learning how to be a manager, a board member, and pull people together. Oh my goodness. But I really did re rely on my coaches, who were the other members of the board, and people who had done it before, and anybody who would help me and train me.
Hmm.
I hung on to them for dear life. So those were, I think, very pivotal moments when I said yes. I went up to the next level, and then I had to drag myself and my skills, and learn them and grab and kind of embrace them without knowing them before I took the job, as it were.
Is there any moment where you wish you had said yes and you didn't?
No, because I always end up saying yes.
And here we tell people to learn to say no. So you clearly uh, defy that.
Yeah, I can't remember ever saying no. I mean, I'll say no if I really think I'm hopeless for it,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But if I think there's an element of growth in it and that it's a learning opportunity, I'll say yes, probably.
Committed to a journey of self transformation when it was not a buzzword. Did it just happen? Was it intentional?
I didn't know what it meant either. I just was lucky enough to be introduced to landmark education, which is the very beginning of transformation. I know there are wonderful, wonderful programs since, but I became a coach there with them too, and learned a tremendous lot of. And what that I think the I'd done psychology for my degree, so I was already passionate about the human being. But this gave me the aspect of human beingism called communication. And so I was able to, because I had the ABCs under my belt already, I was able then to dwell on the actual what people were saying and realizing that that was definitely part of transformation is if you alter your language, you can alter your life. Sorry about the simplisticness of that phrase, but the language and the words you use and the way you use them and the tone of voice, all are pertinent to the way your communication, your message gets across.
Yeah, I have seen that you've used language very astutely with me always. It was clear, it was concise, it was on point. And what practices do you follow to be so on point? Like you listen so deeply and you listen to just what is relevant and you are able to sift out
Hmm.
everything and ask the question which really pierces right through. So, how do you do that?
I think I'm listening for something. I'm not listening for the story. Let's say you put the story to one side. I'm listening for what the nugget is. And actually, I guess what I'm listening for is what's important to you inside of that story and the nugget of gold right there. And so if I wanted to kind of hone in on something, that would be what I'd hone in. Put the story to one side, which is fascinating, but a story. And then, you're able then to see, okay, now what does this person really want, need? What's important to her? What does she value in life? And then that's, I think, what you're pointing to by saying on point. Um, because I don't always do that. Sometimes it's a process, and I get there eventually.
Okay, with
But
you've always gotten there. So maybe my story was so much around me that you always got there and got me there as well. Uh,
there's another little thought I had about one of the pertinent times of my life. Um, it actually was not so much becoming a certified image master as realizing that the association didn't have a top. It had certified image professional, and that was it when I arrived. And I said, okay, now what do we aspire to? What do, what are the people who really are towards the top of their profession? They need a top. And so I was the one that suggested that we did a certified image master. And the very first ones weren't good enough, they weren't high enough. So, it was a process of really a good process of making it much, much better. And so that whole process, again, was a learning process for me. Being able to say, okay, now we need something up there to aspire to. And at the time, I wasn't a certified image master. So I thought to myself, well, that's absolutely ridiculous, creating it and not being it. So I had to then put myself through it and then realize, oh, this really is quite good and quite hard. And so I turned myself inside out, actually becoming a CIM. And luckily, I had great coaches there too. So that was another pivotal moment if we're looking for them in my life.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You, Lynn, work with clients as well as individuals across cultures, continents. What could people do to engage effectively with people from diverse cultural backgrounds? Often people struggle because, they stay in their cocoon.
Well, the way I do it is, first of all, I learn people's practices. I actually enjoy going to other countries and learning different practices, different cultural practices, and the way people do things differently. And then when you've learned that kind of shell and you've learned the outside, what actually is the same is the human being inside. And, you could take someone from Afghanistan, from China, from Great Britain, and they'd all be the same human being. So after I do all the really interesting stuff about learning about them and their themselves and their lives and their work and how they do things differently, that's great. Now, how do I work with them as a human being? And that's the same. I mean, if you think of emotions, there's a human being has emotions, whoever he, she is, right? Or ways of thinking, or biases, or the way we think from the past. Or so it's really once you've got the skills as a coach, which obviously you have to take people into the future and then work with them on their human beingism to get themselves there. And so so by that I mean listen to their what I call their ants, their automatic negative thoughts. And if somebody's got automatic negative thoughts that keep on coming up, again in the language, I'll zoom in on that and I'll say, okay, let's talk about those little ants, shall we? Talk about where they came from and how you can bat them off the shoulders or bat them out of the head. And so that's sort of how I can do so many different cultures, is yes, I'm fascinated with the cultural, and then I hone in on the human being
Yeah.
inside it.
And that's what we all are ultimately, human beings
Yes,
with just
we're human.
different mass, but it's all the same. Coming to, what this whole podcast is fundamentally about: happiness.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be happy. Yet we have different ways, perspectives, definitions, and how to get there. Your views.
Yes. Well, I love the word joy, by the way. Um, the there are many types of happiness. Um, yeah, and you can create each one yourself. That's the beauty of happiness. It's your choice. It's your decision. It's you can see if it's pouring with rain outside, and I can still be happy, you know. So it's not necessarily to do with circumstance, or you could let it be if you wanted it to. And people and things don't necessarily make you happy, I don't think. People think they do, but uh, you actually make yourself happy. You create and choose happiness as a result of whatever's going on in your life. So I had a couple of different thoughts about happiness. First of all, feeling happy. Um, the feeling of being joyful and um, energetic and loving and all those. That's a feeling one has. And you can have that by eating lovely food and shopping and buying things and adoring someone, or just patting a pet or holding a baby or living in a place you like or love. Um, and it's not even a feeling of being elated. It's just a feeling of a beautiful, calm feeling inside. It's almost a mindset. So that would be feeling happy. And then being happy. All right. So now that's a little bit more, all right, I'm going to have to deal with something and get rid of something or listen to my automatic negative thoughts so that I can get myself well after an illness or a misfortune. I have to get back to my joyful state from time to time. So what do I need to do to that, to do that? And that slides me immediately into doing happy. Finding joy in cooking a new recipe, I thought to myself, if you're a cook. Training, coaching, wearing clothes you look good in, taking walks, working out, things, people, and places, good deeds, giving gifts, all of those are the doing happy things. And then the practice of happiness. It's like, okay, it's a bit like healing, but I want to give people a tip here. This is time for a tip. So,
The
so
educator.
when I'm talking about the practice of happiness, I'm saying, all right, how do I create happiness on a daily basis in my life? And one of the practices I found that was incredible was to take on a word that you know you love and try it out. Try it out every day on someone. So, for example, I could say to myself, I'm going to try acknowledgement. And my daughter's coming over on Wednesday. I'm going to use acknowledgement. And with her, it could be saying something nice instead of criticizing, asking her, saying how beautiful she looks, her hair, her the way she looks in her clothing. Um, it would be acknowledging something or somebody who has done something remarkable for you. Um, that would be another way of saying, okay, how am I going to use acknowledgement as the word of the week or the word of the day? And so that is a remarkable practice. And the words that I've used in the past are things like acknowledgement, commitment, being committed, friendliness, sharing ideas, being fun. Oh, it's literally any word that you love, and you can be it with certain people. So that's a tip. if you want to be happy, you try using a word on people that you love and it's like giving gifts to people. Only you're giving them a word, you're giving them a fun aspect of yourself. You're agreeing with them for the first time in ever and forever. Um, and so they'll be very different. And if you give people a compliment about the way they look, that's a wonderful way to start any conversation, so that they know that I must be doing the right thing today. She's an image consultant and she likes the way I look. So anyway, compliments are useful. Um, Acknowledgement is useful. Being fun is useful. Um, Giving tips is useful. Anything you can think of that you can give away. You can give away in every day.
Yeah, so there's so much of giving that's coming back in this conversation, that
Yeah,
happiness really is about giving it away.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I really do. I think it's a shared practice, and it is a practice in that kind of scientific way, um, rather than. But I also have to practice to get good at it too. Because I mean, you're not necessarily always brilliant at it,
Yeah.
and then you forget.
It's hard
So
work.
yeah. Yes, I'd like to just sort of leave people on that note, saying you can be a gift to people, and the minute you're a gift to people, you're the one that benefits.
Yeah, that is so true. We miss out on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So, no, thank you
If
so
you
much.
want a happy life, you have to give yourself away.
That's beautiful. And on that perfect note, I would like to say thank you very much, Lynn. This has been an absolutely stupendous conversation as always. And you bubble with all that happiness and energy and bring it all forward to us. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. It was so lovely.